I bet I can read your mind right now.
Oh, God. Okay. Oh,
You're thinking about Pokemon Sleep.
I'm definitely thinking about sleeping.
Why is that? I can't imagine.
I'm tired. It's been a long week, but no, yeah, I am thinking about Pokemon Sleep.
You've been min-maxing that.
I'm kind of obsessed. I don't know. It's like really good. Okay, wait, no. Actually, I've never cared about a Pokemon game ever. Like I go in and I catch all the ones that are cute, and if they become ugly when they evolve, then I do not evolve them. I slap an Everstone straight on them. They're never moving, never changing.
Yeah.
But in this game, I don't know. I don't know what happened. It's like my third eye opened and suddenly I care about natures. I've never cared about natures. I caught a Pikachu with a brave nature today, and I care about that.
I know nothing of what that means.
I'm so sorry for you. Looks like you're not going to make all the different recipes, are you?
I'm a filthy casual, I gotta say. Although I'm over 100 days strong, consistently with Pokemon Sleep, which I'll take a point of pride on that one.
Yeah, but see, the awkward thing is that you're over 100 days, and I only have like 80, and I'm a higher level than you. So
You're coming in aggressive with this one.
I'm just saying, I'm better at Pokemon than you for once.
Oh.
You could destroy me in any Pokemon game except for this one. In this one, I am the champion.
I acquiesce. I acquiesce.
Do you know the real reason why I play Pokemon Sleep?
To get your sleep schedule back on track?
No, it's terrible. It's off. I get like 6 hours of sleep.
I know.
Yeah. But do you know the real reason?
What's the real reason?
I just think the food is really cute. That's it.
Bless.
I just like making recipes.
I try to get my sleep schedule back on track, but then I sleep 5 to 6 hours a night anyways. So, it is what it is. But it's a good effort every night for me.
Wow, your mental health must be just flourishing.
Oh, it's the best. It is the absolute best. But speaking of mental health.
Oh, we love a segue.
Oh, we love a segue. We actually have 2 developers from Double Fine Productions on the podcast today. The company that made one of my personal favorite games of all time, Psychonauts 2.
Oh.
We didn't introduce the podcast. Welcome to ThoughtCast, the video game podcast. I'm John.
I'm Allie.
Now we're gonna go see and meet these wonderful developers. So this week, we are so excited to have 2 developers from Double Fine Productions, the studio known for developing games like Broken Age, Costume Quest, Brutal Legend, and my personal favorite, Psychonauts. So, James and Naoko, welcome to ThoughtCast.
Hello.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Hello.
So, for anyone listening, can you tell us a little bit about what you guys do and what your roles are at Double Fine?
Naoko, you go first.
Am I answering as you, James?
Sure, yeah. Tell them what I do at Double Fine.
Hello, I'm James Marion, and I like to antagonize Naoko at every given opportunity, and Double Fine pays me for it. It's wonderful.
Hi, I'm Naoko Takamoto. I am a producer at Double Fine. I'm wonderful at my job. I really got Psychonauts 2 over the finish line. But on top of that, I make everyone's day better just by being around.
Oh, I hate you.
This is going to be my favorite
You didn't even get my
podcast.
job title out. You didn't even say what I do.
Do you need an introduction like that?
I do my job as well as the other things you mentioned.
Okay, I'm James Marion, and I'm a designer at Double Fine. I was a designer on Psychonauts 2. Good.
And we're both on unannounced projects. Different unannounced projects.
Oh, but wow, I really feel like I've gotten a vibe for you guys' essences through those introductions. But I guess I'm curious, and you can answer as yourselves or each other, whatever works better. What led you both to coming into the games industry in the first place?
I'll answer as myself because I want to be like the more interesting character. I used to do theater. I went into theater as soon as I went into college. I went to Rutgers. I was a theater major, but I was really good at stuff that I found uninteresting, like stage management. No offense to stage managers, it just wasn't like creative the way I was excited about. And the stuff I actually liked doing in theater, I was bad at. So I was like a bad actor. and I wasn't like a good enough singer.
I feel that. I also did theater, and musicals were not my thing.
Yeah, it's tough. So I eventually, like, I saw that NYU had started this new game program that was attached to their film school, which was very appealing because they have a lot of great policies around like your rights to your work and stuff. So I applied to NYU with a 3D art portfolio. I made a bunch of video game characters in 3D. And they accepted me, and then I immediately switched to design as soon as I got there. And yeah, and then the rest is, well, I assume we'll talk about how I ended up at Double Fine a little bit later.
How did I get into it? Okay, well, James knows my story very well. Would you like? No, sorry, I will drop this bit. It's not great for everyone. Yeah, so I was a musician, and I wound up getting a contract with Harmonix Music Systems because they needed a song for Amplitude, and yeah, then I stayed because there's a potential for health insurance and. A regular paycheck involved.
Say less.
Yeah. You don't get that when you're just trying to be a musician.
Yup.
So, access to video games also great.
One very cool thing about Naoko is that in addition to her work at Double Fine, no, this is real. Something I'm very envious of is that she has a band outside of Double Fine called Princess Problems. And it's very good. You can go listen to their music on Spotify. They have a 2021 album called The Backwards Thank You.
Oh, that's awesome.
Bands. I'm in 2 bands. I'm in another band called That Handsome Devil.
Oh.
And
give them an inch, they take a mile.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, the other band does more. Princess Problems is me just procrastinating and not doing stuff. But That Handsome Devil, that's like, I'm not the main character in that one, so it's other people keep it moving, which is, it's funny because I'm a producer and I'm supposed to keep things moving. But for myself, no. For everybody else, I'm great.
Well, you need to channel the energy into producing for games and everywhere else,
Yeah. Like, I'm not making spreadsheets in my spare time and schedules.
That's so funny. I've heard that from, like, every producer I've ever talked to. They're like, oh, yeah, my personal life, a mess. But, like, my spreadsheets at work, insane.
Yeah. Yeah, like, don't come over my house. It's a disaster.
But, like, sorry, I'm going to continue with this tangent. What kind of music do you make? I'm unfamiliar.
My stuff, it's really sample based, so I'll just rip samples and just go from there. So I sing like a pop R&B person. So I'll take samples and I like hip hop beats. So wherever that ends up. That Handsome Devil's a little more complicated because, like, our main singer, like, he's an amazing rapper, but he also has this amazing, like, croonery voice when he wants to use it. And that music's, like, all over the place. It's hip-hop, but it has surfer rock, and it has punk in it, and then it has it just anything you can think of. If you played, like, Guitar Hero or Rock Band, we were on there. So.
Oh.
Yo,
awesome.
What? That's so cool.
With that, how did you both kind of end up at Double Fine?
Oh, well, so when I was in grad school, we were all very indie focused. All of my classmates wanted to become independent developers. And I kind of did too. And Double Fine was the only studio that I was like, I'd be very happy to end up at Double Fine.
Yeah.
So starting like 4 months into grad school, before I knew anything, I started applying, and I just kept applying over and over again until they eventually let me work here.
Nice.
I mean, persistence is key, right?
Yeah.
It was entirely persistence and desperation. My cover letters got like more and more sad and extreme. So eventually I think they just felt the need to let me work here.
Do you still have them? Can you? I want to read them all.
I think I have only the first one, which is sad because I eventually like started adding JPEGs and I started adding like references to my older cover letters. It was pretty good. As soon as I graduated grad school, I got a deal with Adult Swim where they published my game Peter Panic, and that's free on my website now because Adult Swim died. But yeah, I published that in 2016, and then right after that, I started the interview process with Double Fine and got here pretty much immediately.
I feel like with cover letters, you have to be extreme to get noticed. So like at my job at the university I work at, I work in career development with students. And so it is writing those cover letters and like resumes and all of that stuff. And I feel like you need to push the boundaries sometimes, especially with companies like that, so that you can get noticed.
Yeah, I mean, they're just boring most of the time, and they're
Yeah.
mostly like, you can normally tell that someone has just like copy replaced the name of the company you're applying to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So my last few cover letters were very much like, I can tell you're getting bored. This is the third paragraph. It feels pretty long. So here's some pictures of like pets that my friends have.
I love
So that was the vibe of my cover letter.
Why don't people give me cover letters like that? I want to read that.
Yeah.
Naoko, how did you start working at Double Fine?
I just applied.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I was coming off of like I was laid off in like 2014, and then I had like a terrible time finding a job again. Like I did a few contracts, and it gave me time to do some other stuff that I thought would be fun. But it's kind of like I really would like to start working at a video game studio again. And yeah, it was hard, man. I wasn't getting any callback. No one was calling me back for any job, like at all. It was really freaky for me. I think I had a spreadsheet and I had applied to like 200 places.
Ooh.
And out of all those, like I probably got like 5 calls for them. The job market sucked then. I'm sure it hasn't gotten much better. And like, but like out of every place I applied to, Double Fine was the one where I'm just like, I really, and to work on Psychonauts, that was my dream. So, it all worked out. It was a few years of being really scared about being like, what am I going to do? Like, but it all worked out for the best. So, and I know there've been so many layoffs in the industry, and I know a lot of people are really scared. I can't tell you that everything's going to be okay, but I can tell people that it's totally normal to go through freaky periods of time where you just don't know how it's going to end up. Like a lot of people I know are just like, oh yeah, I just applied and I got a job. Like it doesn't work like that,
No.
Oh yeah.
I can fully relate to that. Like once I got out of my master's program, it was like months and months and months of just like, I'm unemployed right now and I would really like money, like so that I can eat. How can we get this done?
Food is amazing.
Food is so good,
Love
and
that.
good food even better.
Yeah. No, that's so funny. When you first started talking about how you worked at Double Fine, like I just applied, because that's kind of how it was for me. I work in the games industry too. And when people ask me about it, they're like, how did you get this amazing job? And I'm like, I don't know. I saw it on LinkedIn. I hit apply. I thought it looked really cool, so I wanted to do it. But no, yeah, all of the research and the making spreadsheets and the applying all the different places and then making sure you don't send the wrong cover letter to the wrong place. And it's like, I'd love to work here. Wrong company. Like, sweating bullets over that. But
yeah, we're hiring now, and I see some of the cover letters, and I've seen some people make that mistake. Like there was one cover letter that was so well written, so thoughtfully written. It was beautiful about how much they loved our games, except like they weren't Double Fine games and they were not writing to our studio. No,
Let's read it live on the air.
I can't write these people. I want to be like, oh God, I really wish you well. You should send this to the right. I hope you send this to the right person and you get the job. I think someone will take care of that somewhere. But no, it's freaky. And like, I mean, I was lucky enough where I actually knew somebody who could give me a reference and help me out that way. But like, it was also like when everyone was still using Skype. Like that was like the thing, but the only time I ever used Skype was when I would do an interview. And so it was always like signing on early and hoping it works. And then you're like, okay, I'm ready. And then when you get in for the interview, nothing works. And you're like, oh no, I'm applying for this job in the tech industry and I can't even use Skype. I hate myself. So
one thing that I absolutely loved to see come from your studio was the PsychOdyssey, which was a documentary experience of the 7 years it took to make Psychonauts 2. Was it 7? Dang. Yeah. That's wild. And I watched every single minute of it and I loved it. So in PsychOdyssey, we get the opportunity to see a lot of small snapshots of your days in the studio. And so we would see you guys brainstorm and playtest and have like all hands meetings and like things like that. So what does a typical day in the life look like in each of your roles. And does that like differ from PsychOdyssey, or do we kind of see it all like, I don't know, anywhere in there?
Well, it's a lot different now than it was then. Our lives are now fully remote most days. Naoko moved away from the studio, and I work remote 3 or 4 days a week. So a lot of sitting in front of my computer and drinking Snapple and being in Zoom meetings. I guess one nice thing is that you can work during meetings now. So having a bunch of meetings in a row feels a little less onerous. Yeah, but as far as during like Psychonauts time for designer, it varied. Like what we did every day varied very wildly based on where we were in the project. There were some days where like start early, leave late. But then, there's times when designers are like the least useful people on the team, and we're just kind of chasing up bugs and waiting for people to tell us what to do, which is where I'm kind of at right now on the project I'm on.
Oh, yeah.
Naoko, what does a producer do all day?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, PsychOdyssey shows a lot. Like, they were everywhere. They were in every meeting. There's footage where I thought I was pretty aware of when they were walking around with the camera, but I mean, clearly not based on some of the stuff that went in there. But yeah, it was a lot of meetings, and it's just, for me, it was like in the morning we do stand-ups and like, just make sure, have that check-in at the beginning of the day with everybody. And then for me, it's either listening to people or trying to get them to talk so that I could listen to them, so I could try and figure out how to, not fall behind anyone. Especially like as a producer, I'm supposed to like think ahead, and try and make sure that, roadblocks are out of the way before anybody has to get there. But that does mean I'm just pumping people for information most of the time. So and that's really my day-to-day, like nothing. The only constant would be meetings, really. You kind of just figure out how to be the most helpful every day.
And I'm curious, because you had mentioned you never quite knew when they were, like, filming for the PsychOdyssey. Like, you thought you did, but you didn't. What is it like to kind of be filmed throughout the time that you're working?
I am not the type of person who wants to be in front of a camera, really. I don't, that's the gig, right? So you kind of just, put my makeup on every day and spend the extra, make sure, like, the wing on my eyeliner is not as sloppy as it would normally be, but
Yeah.
I don't know. You do just kind of forget that they're there. Like I had places that I'd like pick out in rooms where I'd be like, oh, that's more in the corner. I'll go hide over there. Because in any meeting, I'm really not the one who needs to be talking anyways. So I usually just find hiding places, and everybody else try and get everybody else to sit at the table. And I, try to be on better behavior, but you just forget. And so like I'm in there like swearing and saying weird stuff, and then they caught me outside in the alley smoking, like, just really just shining examples of myself. But James, they didn't show anything to make you look remotely vulnerable, did they?
They did come to the hospital to interview me. Yeah, I did notice them. I did notice them when they were there. But, she's right. We do forget they're there. And I think that is what makes PsychOdyssey so weird to watch, is it really feels like there's no cameras in the room, because you just have to get used to it. I mean, they're there 24/7. You can't always be looking at the camera or mugging for the camera. After a month or two, you kind of get over that. In fact, there's a lot of me like looking at the camera and giving a thumbs up in the first month or 2 or 3 that I'm there, because it is like uncomfortable to look over and like look around a meeting room, and one of the people there is a camera. But you do get used to it. You like forget they're there, and also like we're friends with the Pauls and with Asif, obviously, and so it doesn't feel like there's this uncomfortable third party observer. It's just part of work, and that's how you get so many like very raw moments in the doc that aren't like self-conscious about the fact that they're being recorded.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, that it would just kind of like blend in with everyone else who's attending the meetings at certain points.
Yeah, and I think we're also like, we're all aligned in that we think, or I don't want to speak for everyone, but a lot of the studios aligned that they think that the documentary is like a good for the world, right? It's not like a money-making endeavor, but it is like a thing that is going to help people understand what we do and help people understand how games are made more. And so there's no question as to whether or not they should be there or they're allowed to be there. It's funny. I can't remember if they asked me if they could come to the hospital or not when I was in the hospital. They might have just shown up. I know like Tim just showed up. But yeah, I mean, it felt very natural to me. It's like, oh yeah, we're like in intense like crunch mode right now. Not ordained crunch mode, but I have to go to the hospital. And then the next day I was out for like a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, yeah, of course they want to put this in the documentary. It's like, it's a thing that happened on the team. Why wouldn't they come record me?
No, yeah. And I feel like it's nice to have that trust with them so that you know that if there is like that raw or vulnerable moment, that it won't be taken out of context or anything like that just for, like a sizzle reel, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if they ever put something out of context, it is to make us look better. I mean, I am like a complete, I'm a monster at work. I'm very unlikable. And they did a really good job of making that, kind of obfuscating that in the documentary.
I could tell.
And
right
Naoko is extremely confident in real life. So the 3 or 4 scenes she's in, perhaps show her at her goofiest.
I got these personalities right away. That's exactly why we reached out to you, because this is how we knew you.
Yeah.
Straight from the PsychOdyssey. That's what we saw.
That is the weirdest outcome of that documentary. Like, I went to DICE last year, and people like knew who I was. Not a lot of people, but like people who shouldn't know who I am.
Yeah.
Which actually is surprising. This is going to sound really shitty, but like James has lost an insane amount of weight since the documentary. Like 100 pounds?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I did almost die, so there's good reasons to have done it.
No, yeah, I mean...
But yeah,
people recognize him still, and they're just like, hey, what's up? Which I think is
the casualness with which people approach me is very, very off-putting. Not in a bad way, just like, oh, strange. Just like, hey, James, I don't think I know you, so hello. But it's nice. I mean,
everyone who did that.
Yeah, it's nice to see that people have watched the documentary and that they've identified with different people on the team. There's people who are like in grad school that identified with me. But then there's also like a lot of like more seasoned game devs. I've been in these situations, and I feel like nobody in the world knows that these kinds of discussions happen. And it's very cool to see that stuff affect people.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, the whole PsychOdyssey got shared around my studio, and everyone was just like, wow, this is going to open up a lot of conversations for us about, like, crunch and about, like, caring for one another and how we should be structuring our games and the way that we should have discussions. I mean, all across the board, whether it was grad students or people who just enjoyed playing Psychonauts 2 or people who are working in a different studio, everyone who watched it walked away with something. And I think that's what made it so special.
Yeah. And me, I'm a passive kind of enjoyer of like Psychonauts 2 and just games in general. And so being able to kind of take that peek into what the process was to get this end result that I've enjoyed and put probably more hours than I'm proud of into, right, is so cool to see because, well, I think, I have played through Psychonauts 2, 4 or 5 times, seeing how long it took you, those 7 years to kind of make and go from like conception to it actually being like put out into the wild was so awesome and kind of like eye-opening to see from like a consumer standpoint too.
Yeah, I do want to call out the fact that you just described yourself as a passive enjoyer of Psychonauts 2. I don't think making 6 half-hour-long videos
well,
it makes you a passive enjoyer.
Well,
you're the opposite of a passive enjoyer.
Maybe an active enjoyer. Which now that you bring that up, now that I'm glad you mentioned that. Because there's one...
Oh, you're glad I mentioned your YouTube channel?
Yeah,
oh, weird.
that we're actively on right now. So when we have beef, James.
Yeah.
We have beef that maybe should be squashed,
Sure,
or maybe
try.
not.
Attempt.
There can be an attempt. For anyone listening who's unfamiliar, I was just being a nice guy, and it went into the Double Fine Discord server because I'm like, these seem like lovely people. I'm sure if I ask a question that can help me kind of make a video about the Psy-King Sensorium, about a game that I thoroughly enjoy, I'm sure that I will be greeted with nothing but kindness and straightforward answers.
Oh no, buddy.
Maybe it was naive.
Panther gets it.
Mostly.
It's really cute.
And, I asked the question, and James gives a Q&A while I was away getting a bagel. It's only 5 minutes. Why was it only 5 minutes? Why couldn't it be extended?
Time is valuable. Apologize, I guess.
Maybe you should be more mad at the bagel.
Yeah, I guess it was my own fault.
Just full on blames you.
Yes.
Do you remember what you wanted an answer to?
I do, actually. I wanted to know why I forgot how many senses there were in our bodies. But the 5 senses were the colors that they were. That said, I do think you eventually gave me the answer, so maybe I'm just being petty, but...
Certain colors go nicely with other colors. And we decided which characters would be in which part of the world. We put the nice colors together.
You know, that's fair enough.
You
It's
seem
on
disappointed
public
in that
record
answer.
now.
Listen, it's the reality of game development.
It's amazing because sometimes things are like that simple, and then I can't think of anything, but there are some things in the game that we overthought and analyzed and talked to death. And there's some stuff where we're just like, that looks great.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
I could make up answers. I'm looking at them now. I mean, Bob's sad, so he's blue. Ford was like greedy with his intents for the psychic 7, and so he's green, which is like envy.
Perfect.
You know, Compton is a little yellow guy, and then Otto is red. Naoko, you take this one.
Oh, because he's mad.
Oh yeah, he's like a mad scientist. Mad, angry scientist. Red.
Yeah.
And then Cassie's purple because that's the last color.
That's
That's all that was left.
color.
Yeah. Being behind Cassie being purple.
Because she's very...
Is our beef squashed now?
Yeah, our beef is squashed. I appreciate that we
so
could do this
I can
on public
I can
record.
unban you from the Discord.
Is that why I can't get in?
Yeah, sorry.
I thought it was a glitch on Discord.
Oh yeah, totally a glitch.
Yeah. Huh. Well, yeah, I'd say it's squashed.
All is
Fantastic.
right in the world again.
Yeah, all is right in the world.
Hey, Naoko, have you been able to share PsychOdyssey with anybody? Like, have you forced any friends or family to watch it?
I haven't forced anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not very strong. I've suggested.
Do you mean
And I know
physically or?
I haven't been like, sit down, like, I've been like, oh, this came out. If you want to check it, it's cute.
Just
and
Clockwork
I've-
Orange them to the screen.
Just time down.
I mean, it's a hard documentary to suggest because it's hard to be casual about like, hey, do you have like 27 free hours?
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy. I get kind of annoyed when people are like, I don't know, it's really long. Like, considering people are completely fine binge watching things that have hundreds of episodes. It's fine. So, like, I get kind of annoyed when people are just like, it's too long. And I'm like, you're too long. So, that's not a good comeback, but that's usually as good as they get from me. So, but yeah, like, it's hard to know who's going to like it. Because I've been really surprised at the number of people I'll just tell them. And I'm like, oh, this is out. And then people who, like, I didn't know who were into video games or watch documentaries, like, they'll hit me up and they're like, we watched this and it was so cool. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad I said something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think people are surprised that like even if you don't have a connection to the studio or the game, it's still like a good drama.
No, yeah, it's like low-key The Office, but in a game studio at some points. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say the thing about binging, because it's like, no, I'm not gonna watch PsychOdyssey, but let me go finish One Piece. Like
Seriously, though.
it's just like,
Seriously.
oh,
You
the
guys gonna talk
1,000
about-
episode show.
You're
Yeah.
not gonna talk about anime now, are you?
I mean, I can always.
So Naoko likes this game called Fate Grand Order, which
Oh, I
I
hate
understand is like anime versions of famous historical figures.
Wait, what? I
Wait.
made this.
I'm actually not
The
familiar.
most boring looking game I've ever seen. Naoko, you
Oh,
wanna sell?
shut up. It's fucking great. No, I mean, yeah, it was a visual novel. I don't know if you guys have, if you watch anime, I don't know. There's Fate
Yes.
Stay Night. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's parallel to, it's that whole same Nasuverse stuff.
The
So
Nazi
you
verse, yeah.
can, yeah. So the characters from any of the Fate Stay Nights and Fate Apocrypha and Fate Zero, like you're a master and you can summon servants. It's pretty fun.
Is it like I hate to make this comparison, but is it almost like Fire Emblem Heroes of that universe where you can like bring characters from like other universes or other like pieces of media into like one single game, if I'm understanding correct?
Yeah, they kind of grab anyone who's like who they can probably. And
Yeah, you got
so-
Merlin, you got Oberon, you got Vlad the Third, Morgan, Kama,
Okay.
Enkidu, Galati,
He's right. Yeah. Yeah, and it's just the character, like, Fate Stay Night, it's like, I think it's 12 servants total, but oh god, I'm gonna be wrong and so embarrassed, and I'm gonna hate myself for the rest of my life. This is gonna be my last memory before I die of getting this. But like in the game, they're like 200. I don't know if that number's wrong too, but it's a lot of fun because you get to see what their noble phantasms are, and it's always like connected to their lore, and so that kind of nerdy stuff's really fun for me. I haven't played in months though.
What?
So I haven't. I maxed out my Merlin, and then I got laid, and then like there was like a limited time event, and I didn't finish it, so I didn't get the free servant that I wanted, and I got kind of like mad at myself, and I had to put it down.
That's hard, bud. I'm sorry.
I know.
I didn't know you were going through that.
Well, if you maybe reached out to me a little bit more often, then you'd be able to stay up on this stuff.
Yeah, but that sounds exhausting.
It is.
I want to talk more about Psychodicy. I love talking about Psych. I'm so proud of 2Player did with that game, or with that series. It's unbelievable that they were able to put that together.
No, yeah. I'm curious whether it's Psychodicy or just in general. Do either of you have like a specific favorite memory like with the studio, whether it's working on Psychonauts 2 or like anything else?
Oh God, I don't know.
Just answer it. Just go. Come on.
Why don't you go? Sorry, that sounded really pointed.
That's the real Naoko. That's the first peek at the real Naoko you've gotten so far.
I can't think of like my.
I mean, it's an interesting question because like it's our job. It's not like a club we're part of, which it might seem like watching the documentary. So it's weird to think about like, well, what's the favorite moment of the last 7 years of your life?
No, yeah.
Oh, I guess like watching the documentary, some of my favorite moments include like Tim's speech at the launch party. I always and then the little high school graduation. What are they called? What's it called when you cut a bunch of pieces together for a movie? Montage. The montage at the end also like really get me and make me a little weepy because we have gone through a lot of stuff together at the studio. But yeah, Tim's speech where he says like you just made someone's favorite game was like, very meaningful.
That was a good line.
Yeah, it was really sweet, and he's not wrong. It is crazy to still see or talk to people that are like, this game changed me or whatever.
Oh, I think I have an answer. So, okay, not in the documentary. There are clips of it in the documentary, right? But after the game released, they put together a short video that was like the top 10 bugs in Psychonauts 2, right? And it's a bunch of clips of like, we used to do, like towards the end, we do like bug triage, and it was like the leads and stuff, and we just go through the bug database and just be like, are we going to fix it? Are we going to fix it? No, yes, no, yes. Who's it go to? Who's it going to go to? And, just dole them all out in the morning, right? But they made that compilation that was like the 10 best ones, and all of them, it's like us either seeing it in that meeting or sharing it with the rest of the team and just laughing because they're just so stupid and comical, right? And I think they put that out like this year, and it was just like, oh yeah, like releasing a game is really stressful, but like when stuff like that comes up and you're just like, you're tired and you're just trying to get something done, and then something that's stupid happens and everybody can just like laugh about it together, like that kind of stuff was actually pretty fun.
Yeah, Naoko, I'm curious if that feels specific to Double Fine or not. Kind of that camaraderie on the team.
No, I've definitely had that experience at like other studios where I've worked, because like you'll kind of just like lose your minds a little when you're just trying to finish something. So like you're already a little goofy, so any real excuse to like just kind of laugh together like that, you're spending a lot of time together. So yeah, like the specific chemistry is different, obviously, but yeah, that kind of experience is nice.
I guess another like a somewhat obvious answer is like all those like pressure release moments, like when we released the first trailer during the Game Awards. That was a really wonderful moment, seeing our hard work come through like that. Obviously the release, and then E3 was also like one of my favorite weeks working on Psychonauts 2. It was just very nice to be showing the game to people for the first time, to like strangers for the first time, see them get excited about it, and to like just be in a bungalow with a bunch of my Double Fine friends. It was like really nice.
So, James, I feel like a lot has to be taken into account when designing a level for a game like Psychonauts 2. So, what do you think is the greatest misconception around what a game designer's job is or isn't?
Big question. I mean, like a designer's job is so different on one project versus another project based on like what game you're making and how many people are on the team. On Psychonauts 2, my job was like you white box levels and then you get feedback on those levels and you box them again, and in many cases throw them out. But like a lot of your job is setting up spaces and worrying about vistas and worrying about landmarking and all these like fundamentals of level design. And then like there's a huge scripting component, which I think some people don't realize you kind of need to know how to do as a designer. I also teach on this side, and so a lot of times I'll have students who don't realize that you should have a pretty solid technical background in addition to being good at designing spaces. Because anything you can do without bothering a programmer is just like a huge boon for your studio. So having the wherewithal to like hop into Blueprint and do a lot of weird stuff and do a lot of weird prototyping, I think is pretty useful. So yeah, I think that's something people don't expect. But you know, like even the role of level designer is so vastly different based on what you're making. Like if you're a level designer on a game like Candy Crush, like you're still a level designer, but the levels you're designing are these little bite-sized puzzles. Whereas like what we did in Psychonauts 2 and what I'm doing on my current project is more related to my like my background in set design and worrying about how physical spaces are laid out.
And I feel like that is interesting. I see on like social media and all that stuff, like people think that it's a one-size-fits-all job, but you need to have so many nuanced understandings of how everything kind of works together so that the game like works, right?
Yeah, I guess like you know, a lot of times the designers are like the holders of important information for levels, at least till those things get put on paper. Yeah, I wish I had a more interesting answer. I guess yes, definitely. You are correct.
With that, just like to continue going down that rabbit hole, is there a piece of Psychonauts 2 specifically that you particularly are proud of, that you kind of like white boxed or that you had a heavy hand in developing?
Oh, interesting. So I was other than Zach and Ryan, who were both in management positions, I was the first designer on the game. And so I have my hands in a lot of levels. And I made a lot of huge, completely white boxed, completely playable versions of levels that didn't make it into the final game. So there's a lot of ideas from that like maybe we'll talk about in the future in like documentary stuff. But there's a lot of stuff from that I was really proud of, even though it didn't make it into the game. Even when stuff gets thrown out, it informs the next version of the thing you do.
Yeah. There's
a lot of like high-level Psychonauts stuff that I'm very proud of, like the whole Loctopus mission and all that, like Casino in the Middle of the Ocean stuff, and Hollis's background, the fact that she had the experience with her mentor that Raz later like kind of mirrors with her, is all stuff that came from like sitting in Tim's office talking through what the level is going to be. And it's crazy to have a little meandering conversation like that in an office and see it just spin out for 6 years until it's like a fifth of a game and has all this work poured into it and all these people spending time on it. It's very cool to see. It's not really a design thing, but I am also really proud of the way Helmet and Bob's relationship turned out in the game.
Yeah.
Tim and I did a whole like YouTube video talking about the process of getting that relationship to where it ended up. But I'm just very proud that, well, first of all, I'm very thankful that Tim is the kind of person who's like really open to talking about his ideas and changing his ideas if people have thoughts about them. He's a really generous person in that way. There's scenes in the documentary where you see him like being nervous about sharing ideas. And that's really, I think, really important. And it says a lot about his creative process because he's presenting them as ideas, not as dictations. He's not telling us what it's going to be. He's presenting what he is thinking. So like, you know, when he presented the characters being gay for the first time, the idea was that Bob was going to be in love with Ford, and it was going to be like this unrequited love triangle between those two and Lucy. And so, you know, I like talked to Tim and I was like, hey, like, I feel like I've seen a lot of unrequited, sad gay people in games. Or not in games, but just in media in general. And I was like, what if it was just fine and they like were a happy gay couple, and the tragedy comes from losing that. And he was into it, and I think it turned out really well. It seems like a lot of people responded really well to their relationship. So I'm really proud of working on that, and also like I'm just proud that we have a game that has like these two old gay men that are very happily in love and have this very tender relationship, and also that like we're a Microsoft produced game that has a whole level where you're like walking around on a gay wedding cake. It's like very it's very unusual, and I think it's something Double Fine should be very proud of.
Yeah, and I feel like those two characters, just in general, are some of the most interesting in the game, you know, and have some of my favorite kind of levels to kind of go through, like with Bob's Bottles being very close to the top for me personally, and seeing how they kind of developed that relationship from, oh, I'm not sure if this is a thing, to very, you know, explicitly stating it, which I feel like a lot of places kind of shy away from for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And whereas I think it's one of the most special aspects of the game and one of the most impactful things that it wasn't like broken by loss, in that, like something like the Last of Us TV show, where they kind of go on happily ever after, right? Instead of, you know, the loss of Helmet just kind of stewing and leaving it there and moving past Helmet, they get reunited in the game. And I think that that moment in particular is just like peak for the game in my experience of it.
I'm glad you think that. Yeah, I think they're both very relatable people. I think like you know, they have a very similar dynamic to my partner and I. My partner Aiden is he's very quiet like Bob, and I'm very obnoxious and boisterous like Helmet. And you know, I think it's a real credit to Tim that he was able to write them in such a moving and relatable way. I think a lot of people, we know, you know, we talked about this as well, but like a lot of people don't write characters that are unlike themselves just because it's uncomfortable to do, right? Like I think a lot of representation problems when it comes to media isn't people being like intentionally averse to including diverse characters. It's just like it's harder to write people from backgrounds that you're not from. And I think like it's very impressive and cool that Tim was able to write these two gay characters in a way that was very normal and likable and didn't feel like an agenda.
Yeah.
It does. We do. But it just people didn't seem, I didn't really see any negative feedback from it, which I was surprised by. I just thought that the climate being the way it was, I was expecting more pushback.
No, that's so good. I remember when we got to the wedding cake portion of the game, and I was just freaking out this whole time, so excited about being able to like climb up all the tiers and I don't know, and like unravel that story and figure it out yourself too, and not have it explicitly stated at the beginning, but be like, wait, do they love each other? Wait, I'm so here for it. So yeah, that made me really happy too. Just uncovering a romance that I wasn't expecting in the game. Like, I don't know, Psychonauts 2, I hadn't played Psychonauts 1. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
I think you would just put on Psychonauts 2 in the living room. You're like, I'm really excited for this game to come out. I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, I'm going to scroll on TikTok and just have my brain melt out of my ears. And maybe if I feel like paying attention, then I will. And I got captured right away at the beginning of the game. And then just started to fall in love. And it was fun figuring out who all the characters were and putting it together in the second game. Because I had no idea what was going on at first. But then, like, figuring out all the character dynamics and everything like that, it was really neat. And now you got a fan out of me.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
I am curious, Naoko. I'm curious if you have a proudest moment, because your job is so much more about making sure everything is possible and like gets in the game, and making sure we're able to ship.
Yeah, I'm just glad we shipped.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair.
I'll pick one for Naoko. I mean, so when we had a design vacuum, when we didn't have a manager, Naoko took over management of the design team. And I think it like really helped mend any bridges that had been burned at the studio, and I'm very thankful to her for that.
I mean, I just wanted to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, I mean the design meetings were pretty easy peasy and easy going. But no, it was really important, and Naoko has like great design sensibilities. I think you should be proud of that, Naoko.
100% Naoko, like 10 out of 10. And I feel like nothing would get done without producer help anyway. Like, I mean, producers, they have like this near impossible job of playing almost like Tetris and putting all the pieces together to figure out how a game is going to actually end up getting shipped. Is there anything that you do to make sure that you can get it done in that time frame? Or like, what's the hardest part, I guess, of being a producer and trying to make it all work?
Getting developers to update their JIRAs.
Oh my god, too true.
Oh yeah, I just gave up on that. I don't know. I just at some point sometimes I just got Not that people are fighting, but I'm just like, everyone's already busy enough. It's fine. Like, I don't want Jira to be the problem. So I guess on Psychonauts, it was like there's so many things going, like people were working on multiple levels at once, right? And so like depending on who you were, you had to have like several concepts and plates spinning at the same time and stuff like that, right? And it's just like, it's fine. Jira's there. It's fine. But I know there are some companies where producers have more like executive authority or whatever. So I've been told or whatever, right? And Double Fine's not like that. Like, you know, I'm there to help. So I'm just trying to get people to be able to articulate what it is that they want to do as quickly as possible and talk to each other about it. And then it's just me going back and trying to turn that into numbers or data and just like it's a whole bunch of simple arithmetic all the time or like, what dominoes fall this way or what does that mean? Does that mean that this affects that person? And just trying to see all that spider webbing out, but kind of just take that and figure out a way to make that information like digestible for everybody else, because it's like in the end, like I'm not going to make your decision for you, but you should make it because you're making all these other creative decisions. So I just want people to be able to make informed creative decisions.
Yeah.
So
Naoko, when I imagine you doing your job, I imagine you like with a big cigar, like yelling at a lead that they need. You can either have this, you can have this, you can't have both. And I'm curious if like any moments like that stand out, any like make or break intense conversations that you had to have where someone had to choose between two things they loved.
early when I started, I got a whole bunch of numbers about how long it would take to make levels, right? When I started, and I hadn't worked on a platform before, right? So, not particularly familiar with how long it takes to get all that or just the process and stuff. And people were really nice and like tons of people were just like, okay, well, this is how I do it and this is how I do it. So I was just trying to get all that and then like made a really sexy spreadsheet where I could just plug in all the numbers and it would just kind of spit out when it would finish based on whatever, right? And then I think this was in 2018 or something. And then the number and we were supposed to be done and ship in 2019, and the number that it spit out was 2021, and I was showing it to people and everyone was laughing like ha ha ha, it's not gonna take that much time, and I'm like, I know, you're right, numbers so stupid. And and then like I would refer to it when like we weren't sure if we had enough people on the team, and I'm just like, all right, well, if we get another environment artist specifically this time, it's like we get another environment artist, we can get this much done and we can get all these levels like this much more polished or this much even more complete, right? But if we don't get this person, this is where I think we're going to be. I think we're going to be at like 60% of our hitting our quality bar. Like all of these numbers are imaginary and stuff, right? But if I'm trying to explain something to people, like I have to say something, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, it's probably going to be a little better than half what you think is good. And I'm saying that to Tim, who I am a fan of, and I'm started, and he just looks at me and he goes, so are you telling me my game's going to suck? I'm like,
Classic Tim answer.
yeah, I'm just like, no, I think I'm telling you I need to go to the bathroom so I can puke and cry, but I don't know what I'm doing here. It's just what my first time hearing that, and he said it directly to me, and I should have just been like, yeah. But yeah, our levels used to be much, much larger.
Like 5 or 6 times as large.
Well, I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe.
No, like ridiculous.
I don't know if they're 5 or 6 times, but at the same time, like these numbers also mean nothing. So.
Well, yeah, yeah.
I looked back at my original white box of Bob's level. There are like buildings you can go in that version of the level, and every building is roughly the size of the level as we shipped it. It's way too large.
Good
My
lord.
God. That's big.
Yep, sure is.
Yeah, you'd be surprised that sometimes people were worried that we didn't have enough game.
Oh my god, I know. Yeah, we did worry about that.
I think it's gonna be okay.
I feel like it hit the right, again, from like a consumer, it hit the right balance of like just long enough without overstaying its welcome. I play games like a big thing I talk about on the channel too is like the Persona franchise. Like Persona 5 Royal is 120 hours. It overstays its welcome a little bit
That's
sometimes.
very long.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a long time.
And it's like impractical for me to play it now, even though I like the franchise.
It's just how it
I mean,
is.
it's also hard because, like, while we're making, like, it went on, like, I was only there for, like, half of making the game, right? But, like, while that's happening, like, all these other games are coming out, and you know, we want to play them, and also, like, you want to know what other people are doing and stuff, so you get excited about, you know, new things you can do now, and look at what this person did, and, like, and it's just like, oh, you know, you do want to think, do we make enough? Because, like, maybe, like, you get excited about a game that has, like, lots of, like, secrets to explore and things on the side, and, you know, do we have enough of that? Like, I think that's really where things could have exploded more, that we tried to pull back on being like, no, it's okay. You can just, there's just this room and the stuff in this room, and that's fine. Like, there doesn't need to be like little caves and Narnia behind every door. It's fine. It's just there's plenty to do in this one room, you know. And then it's just like then there was a whole new console generation.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're just
oh.
like, look at all the things you can do now, and I'm like, oh no.
Oh God.
I mean, luckily there aren't a ton of 3D platformers to compare ourselves to. So yeah, we didn't have that stress at least. I'm sure if you're making like a shooter, it must be very stressful to see.
I bet. Or
Yeah.
like when they have very similar names to you. Like one game that I worked on, it had a very similar name, and then it came out. It went into early access like right when our game was being shipped, and I was like, oh my god, why? Why'd you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
it's
like,
rough.
I feel like there was a period of time where everything had zombies, it felt like.
Oh my god, yeah.
And so like all of the games like with zombies in it, it was just like, oh no, I'm so sorry. Like groupthink in action.
Yeah, are zombies like no longer hot? I guess they're not hot anymore. Although Last of Us is basically zombies.
Yeah. I feel like Last of Us is basically zombies, but it's different because they're fungi. Induced
Yeah,
zombies.
and like Last of Us 2 is more about murdering people with names.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love that?
Now we're in a farming sim renaissance.
Yeah.
I don't understand, but like the past few Nintendo Directs are all farming sims, which I'm not complaining. I'm a farming sim girl. But like
Yeah,
other
there was
people,
a
they're mad.
Sony show too that was like mostly games that look exactly the same.
Yeah.
They're all like Starlight Valley.
Yeah. Thank you both so much for coming on to the podcast today. Like, we really appreciate it.
My pleasure, and I mean it, because it's after the interview.
Yeah.
I had a good time, so thank you.
So, one quick thing we always do to kind of like close out is kind of ask anyone who comes on, like, are you playing anything cool? Are you watching anything cool right now?
James, you go.
Okay. Yeah, I just played through Resident Evil 4 DLC. And it was definitely fine. I played through I'm playing through Octopath Traveler 2.
Ooh, nice.
Oh,
Also good. Oh, Great British Baking Show is back, so I'm watching that.
yes, it is. But
Naoko, what are you watching?
What am I watching?
Yeah. Any reality shows?
No, just some anime. I just finished Bungo Stray Dogs and watching Jujutsu Kaisen and Blue Lock with guys at work.
heck
Oh,
yeah.
I've been watching anime too. I've been watching through Sponge. Pretty good.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Naoko, what do you play? You play games sometimes, right? I mean, other than
Sometimes.
the bad mobile game.
Yeah. I don't know. I finished Cocoon. I started playing Starfield,
Mm,
but I'm just at the character creator.
that's fair. That
Like, I wish it's well done, but it's very controlled. Like, I can't make a person look too comical. I want to
Yeah.
make my person look funny, and I can't do that. It just seems like a serious game.
I feel like there
Ooh,
needs to be
Spider-Man
that
came out
moment.
this week, right? I'm very
Oh,
excited
yeah.
to play Spider-Man. Yeah, I feel like I feel like a responsibility to play all big games. I don't know if you feel that way, Naoko.
No, I don't need to play everything. I want to know about everything, but I can't. I can't play everything. I know this sounds so lame, but like my hands can't take it.
Oh, yeah. I'll watch every single review and I'll like read about them, but I cannot be playing all those games. Like I'm looking at Baldur's Gate 3 and I go, I'm gonna get stuck in that character creation like you, Naoko. Not because I'm trying to make them funny, but just because there's too many options and I'm gonna be there forever. I'm just gonna keep remaking my character and never leave. Like The Sims, but worse.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll just keep playing even though I'm done. Like I kept playing Zelda even though I was done. Just because I didn't feel like learning new mechanics on anything else. I was just like, this. I just gonna go back to what I know for another week.
Like a comfort blanket.
Yeah.
And I feel like Zelda's the perfect game for that too, because there's so much to explore that even once you're done, you're not quite done. Like there's always something new around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I felt about Elden Ring. Elden Ring was like that for me.
Yeah, I feel like my current obsession, we just started playing Final Fantasy VII Remake to get prepped for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And so we're obsessed with JRPGs. It's like platformers and JRPGs. Like that's where we're at. But
did you play the original Final Fantasy VII?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So you get to appreciate all the ways in which it's different.
Yeah, and it is cool, like, what they added versus what they took out. Like, the whole of Final Fantasy VII Remake is just, like, such a small fraction of the original Final Fantasy VII. Like, they took, like, the first 3 hours and turned it into, or 4 hours and turned it into, like, a 40-hour experience. Am absolutely obsessed with most Square Enix properties.
Oh, yeah.
You know, barring, like, the Balan Wonderworlds of the world.
Quiet Man. Everyone's favorite game, The Quiet Man.
Oh, the best. 600 hours.
Naoko, have you seen The Quiet Man?
Mm-mm.
Oh, we're going to play through it together.
I don't know what this is.
Oh,
It's like half short film, half really, really bad brawler.
yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
There's no dialogue, but there's like people speaking on screen, but there's just no dialogue recorded for it. It's
What? It's like a
truly-
silent movie brawler?
Yeah, it's like truly. It's also like photorealistic or trying to be photorealistic. It's truly wild. We'll play through it.
Okay.
Allie, I'll show you. I'll show you the trailers. I don't know if I can commit to playing it.
I need to know.
Awesome.
What's the next Psychonauts video you're gonna make?
Oh no. So that's a really interesting question.
Tables have turned.
I would say, honestly, the next one that I want to make, and we kind of stalled out on making videos for a while, just in general, because like life happened and everything. So finally getting back into like doing the podcast and making videos. The next one that I would want to make a video on, because Ford is intimidating to me, is Hollis.
Do you have any questions you want to ask about Hollis while you have me?
I'm not prepared. I'll bombard you on Discord.
Okay,
You've
that's
added
fair.
me now, so I can DM you.
Yeah, Hollis is a great character. That'll be. I'm excited to watch that video. Hollis is someone I spent 3 years of my life with. So
When I became aware that you all had seen my videos, I was like, oh God, what did I say? Or like some folks said Double Fine. And so I was like, oh God, I hope I'm not. And they're not like, this kid. Like,
They pull up your videos and just laugh at everything you get wrong.
yeah.
I am pretty sure Tim's watched at least one. So
Don't say that.
it's exciting, right?
That is, but also I'm wiping it from my memory. So that'll make another.
No, you got everything right. You nailed everything in every video you've ever made.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm blushing. Stop.
Aw.
But awesome. But genuinely, it was so fantastic having you both on the podcast today. We really appreciate you taking the time out to chat with us.
Yeah, anytime. You got it.
Yeah, sure.
And so that'll do it for this week's episode of ThoughtCast, a video game podcast. If you want to hear these episodes early, make sure to go check us out on Patreon. It really helps a whole lot so that we can keep doing these at the rate that we're doing them right now. And if you want to continue the discussion, join our Discord server where there's a lot of really incredible people that have a lot of really fun conversations. And we love to chat with you. And as always, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, a fantastic rest of your week, and why not even a fantastic rest of your month. And we will see you next week. Later.
See ya.